used to work over at PT's down in Denver.
Is that like a male-female strip club?
Male-female strip club.
Oh, so like, so are you talking about like when you just zone in and the strippers are going and you're like, ladies, and all of a sudden there's a dick like, right in your face. You're like, I didn't know I was paying for this.
Yeah, all of a sudden it's like, oh, you're like walking.
Oh, fuck. Sorry, guys. Had to stop my shepherd's pie timer. Alright, hey guys. Thanks for tuning in. Welcome to Finding Home, where we're vulnerable, shameless, and open about everything. And we're just learning the world, trying to create a community of love and acceptance and all that fun stuff. I'm Seth Gorman. Alright, you guys have names too.
Okay, my name's Diego. Oh, jeez.
Oh, goodness.
No, starting over.
Diego.
It's Diego. Sorry. My name's Annalise.
Yo, I'm Nick.
Mataio.
Mataio. Sorry.
Like a Mai Tai.
They call you Mataio, like a Mai Tai.
It's a Mai Tai with
Mataio. Today's special guest is Mataio. He lives next door, so he's like the finding home across the way. We're gonna welcome him today. Talk about a bunch of fun stuff. I think the first thing we were on is coffee enemas.
Anyways, since Mataio is our lovely guest today, he actually gets to pick the topic out of the bowl.
Right. But still, we were talking about coffee enemas and how it's weird, but do you think it's good for you or not? And by the way, I don't think any of us have done any sort of studies, but I'm just curious, like, what do you
The only
not,
thing
sorry,
I've
research,
seen,
not
Well, my personal experience.
yeah, I like dark roast, honestly.
Cold brew.
The only thing I've seen is an addiction, like on an addiction TV show, and I just thought it was so weird how like they just go in the bathroom like stoners or cigarette smokers or drinkers like drink, but it's just it's like the constant like of putting something up your ass. Like you like that, you're infatuated with the whole process. Just like someone's like infatuated with.
I know people that I know people that get enemas just because it's a cleansing thing. They get a routine like every like 3-4 months they'll go and get as a flush.
Course,
now with the coffee, I mean I can understand to an extent.
Well,
okay, like cleansing yours. I mean coffee's already one of those things that helps your digestive tract anyway.
Yeah, if you drink it, it cleans your colon.
Right.
Like, because you got to take a shit. Like,
but if
not
you do it, I
after.
mean, all right, theoretically, anything that punctures those, the veins down there, right?
Yeah.
And through your rectum, I mean, you're going to get a boost of that. So, I mean, you thought Red Bull would be
What do you mean? What do you mean punctures the vessels?
Okay, so, like, there's, in France, it was a big thing to shove bottles of wine in your ass and stand upside down and fucking shotgun.
Yeah, I know if you store things in your ass when you go to jail, it's like boofing. When you store things in your ass, it's not even go to jail. Is that boofing?
Capillaries. Yeah, I don't know.
What's like drinking wine through your ass? What's that called? Like it's like drinking beer through your ass.
Directly into your fucking bloodstream.
Frat dudes call it butt chugging, but like I don't. But I feel like
are we all butt chugging?
Welcome to Starbucks, where your fucking coffee cleanse.
Would you like to be
Starbucks? That's a great business idea. Coffee enemas, Starbucks.
Starbucks.
Oh, it's
Alright, no one take that. No one take that.
We have butt plugs in the drive-in. Pull up to lane 4 and you just right in the asshole.
Oh, you're lactose intolerant. Oh, sorry. We totally put some creamer in there. I mean, I don't know, but if you think about it theoretically, if you're getting more fucked up, if you're getting more fucked up, when you're ingesting drugs, like people fucking be popping shit in their ass all the time, like raves, like they'll take their ecstasy like suppository. Okay, so if it was busting through the capillaries, theoretically, I mean the caffeine would be a hell of a boost.
Well, it bypasses the liver. That's the big part. It bypasses the liver, and the liver siphons out a lot of the effects of a lot of drugs. But if you take it straight into your ass as a suppository,
Pause.
What?
Are we doing no ash?
Oh, we should probably ash it.
Live your life. But like if it's just going straight into the rectum, into the large intestine, like you're just hitting all of that straight into the bloodstream, and that's why it's so dangerous, because your liver's your defense. And so like the thing is, like, what if coffee enemas are good for you just because it's slightly acidic, it goes into the large intestine, it can kind of clean those fibers, it can, like, I think coffee has some like anti-cancer properties as well, and so like if there was any sort of polyps or anything, maybe it attacks those polyps. I don't know. I'm not a doctor. We can stop talking about coffee enemas. It's totally fine.
Yeah, I tuned out so long ago, and I just like tuned back in, and I was like, they're still talking about coffee enemas, and I was like, I don't even know what the hell this is.
Doctor, 2 shots of espresso, please.
Yeah, I had to learn through context clues what that was, and I was talking to Nick. I was like, this just makes me more confused now that I figured out what they're talking about. But
the last thing I'm gonna say is I think it's good if you use it every few months as a cleanser, because that's a beneficial thing. Like anything that is positive in moderation is good. But if it's like your thing, I think you should get help. I think if you like feel like I need coffee enemas every hour, like that's weird.
That's an addiction.
See, that's the only aspect I know of it from that show, though. But let's stop. Let's just stop.
All right, so
we'll move forward. That's fine.
We'll let Mataio take a topic out of the bowl.
Yeah, he'll pick a topic for now.
You can't look in the bowl. There you go.
Ooh, this feels like a good one.
Right there. All right.
What does it say?
Discipline and freedom.
Oh boy.
Okay. All right.
Fuck.
Discipline and freedom.
Well, obviously,
to
start it off,
Deception Central.
To start it off,
Yeah, that totally depends on the context.
The first thing I think of is, with more freedom comes more self-discipline or lack thereof. You really have to,
Make like E40. Everybody got choices.
Yeah, like you have to have self-discipline. You have to say what motivates me, and actually, hold yourself accountable for reaching your goals. You can't, ask for freedom and then not do anything with it.
Not expect to be disciplined.
Yeah.
All right, but what about for those who have financial freedom? And
there's different kinds of freedom.
Yeah, I feel like it depends on the discipline and the type of freedom you're talking, because I mean there's a lot of rich people who have the financial freedom to do whatever, whenever. You know what I mean? But are they really that disciplined?
Right. Well, discipline. The thing, freedom's interesting too, because like freedom really is a perspective thing, because freedom is correlated to what you're focused on. So whatever your focus is going to be your solution, but it's also going to be your problem. Like your focus of your life and that perspective, whatever you're focusing upon, like it just becomes everything. So freedom within that storyline of what your perspective is, like I think the separation between discipline and freedom is like, discipline is the path that you must take to get to the freedom you desire. And so any freedom that you desire requires a certain form of discipline. Yeah, I think there are people out there who enjoy this sort of feeling of ultimate freedom, but they also don't feel like they need any discipline because they just have an understanding. And it's a weird place to be in, because and they don't get a lot. I don't think those people get a ton done. Like, because like you discipline and the seeking of trying to attain what you want to be free is the thing that drives you to be creative, a critical thinker, to try to get things done, to try to make some sort of object in your reality that'll get you closer to the thing that you're desiring. You know what I mean?
Well, I think ultimately when it comes to freedom and discipline, I think it's like a kind of two heads of the same coin in terms of free will. Right. So your ability to choose, when you are essentially have no attachments, which is what true freedom is. You have no any worldly, otherworldly, whatever attachments. And discipline is simply when you are consciously choosing your choices. Consistently on a daily basis. Choosing something to better yourself later on rather than instant gratification. And that's all enveloped in this idea of, it's hard. It's hitting hard.
It's hard.
But
it's only getting foggy.
Freedom and discipline, same thing. Two sides of the same coin of ultimately free will, which is what our ability to choose what we do with our lives and how we feel and everything like that. So then it leads to the question: what is free will?
I think it's like kind of how we like perceive it. Like our free will is like it is all up to us, but like there's limitations, and it's weird because like freedom, what we all view as freedom is like differently. What we want, or like form of freedom. Mm-hmm. Like it is like all the same because it's all our true happiness is like that's what we see, but it's all like skewed our different views of freedom. They're all kind of beautiful though. So even if they're trying to burn them down, like I can admire anybody who's like honest about the freedom they want.
I think discipline could even lead to a hindrance of achieving freedom.
Yeah, of course, dude.
Because there's some, alright, you know, and a lot of it comes down to depending on what the situation is, because you're always presented a choice, right? So now, there's some individuals who have been disciplined but have taken some shortcuts throughout the entire thing and obtained a temporary sense of freedom, you know, and there's people who've turned the other cheek to you know, like kind of cheating the system and allowed that to hinder them for a moment until they later on achieve. So I think it's like you said, it's a double-edged thing because it comes down to choices.
Right. So I while you guys were talking, when I was listening, I looked up the etymology of freedom, the word freedom, and so it's separated in two parts: free and dom. So the root word of dom, and I'll just read it off the online etymology dictionary. It says abstract suffix of state from Old English dom, which means statue or judgment. And so if dom means statue or judgment, free means exempt from, not in bondage, acting of one's own will, noble or joyful. And so literally freedom means not in bondage to judgment, in a sense, or however you want to put that. Like
your attachments, no, you don't have any correlation to anything that you have, you know, experience. You are purely the observer.
Right.
In that sense.
And so you have to think of like how we use the word freedom to represent a lot of things, but if freedom literally means to be free of judgment, like if we focus on freedom in like, I don't know, I'm trying to think of how to put this, is like we don't think about judgment when it comes to freedom, is what I'm saying. Like for how much of a root word that is, like I feel like we apply freedom to some different sort of meaning. Rather than to be free of judgment. Like we aren't thinking about the judgment when we think about freedom. Like, you know what I mean? It's like we see ourselves in like this box. Like we see it through our own perspective as like I don't have freedom from not having to go to work to make money so that I can pay for the things that I need to survive. And then, you know, it's just like it's that kind of context that we see it in, but we don't think of it as judgment in any way. So at least I haven't. It puts a new perspective on it for me.
Right. Freedom is to be exempt from being judged, right?
And what society kind of warps us to think that will make us free of that judgment is wealth. And working to that in the like wrong manner is like what hinders the freedom that we want.
It leads you to financial freedom.
But
it's financial freedom.
But it also
we have to think for ourselves what we want as freedom, because it seems like the type of freedom everyone wants is the same. But like, if you ask a lot of people in the world, like, what are your dreams? What do you want to do? And they just like, literally, like, I don't know how you guys experience it, but they chuckle. Or like when you're growing up and people like talk about dreams, they're just like, I don't know.
Yeah. Well,
you see that in a lot of people, and that's because they hindered their own freedom, I think. Because they're like, there's too many obstacles.
Or they could have already obtained the freedom that they were seeking. Because I know I got a couple friends who have their houses paid off, and you know, it's a financial freedom for them, and it's also a sense of, you know, like I only pay $400 a month for my utilities and my lot rent, and everything else is I can do. You know what I mean? So they're able to provide things for their kids, and that's another sense of freedom. And I think it all does come down to choices, but you know, some people want that.
Yeah, like what you said, it comes down to what you want, and I think what you desire will determine the discipline you need to have to get the freedom that you want. And this is just a quick point. It's just like if you want a Lambo or you want a garden,
manifest it, bro.
Yeah, you're going to have to manifest the desire that you seek. But if you want a garden or you want a Lambo, both of them take work, but the kind of work and the extension of the work you're going to have to do to get either one of those things, given that you're just starting from scratch, it's going to take it's a different route. Yeah. It's a different route. There's no right or wrongs about it. It's just like, if you want this thing, it was made, like if you want a Lambo, Lambos were made to be luxurious and expensive. And so like if you're going for the luxurious and expensive, you're going to have to take the route of obtaining the type of wealth needed to buy luxury
and to afford the maintenance.
Right. And if that's what makes you happy, then go for it. Yeah. But like, I know, and I used to think of garden, like I just want to have a garden and some chickens. Like that's what I'm chill with. Like I just want to grow stuff. I just want to grow tomatoes and peppers and beans and shit. Cause like I just like watching life create itself. Like I just like watching it grow and then just like harvesting it. Like I just like watching this cycle. I've always been interested in systems. And it's like just the ability to be free enough that I can get the time to watch these systems occur is what will give me the most freedom. And that's what I'm working towards in my life. So I guess the question that I could ask is what's your version of freedom? What do you want for your freedom? Like what is freedom to you? Like if you could have if anything could be different tomorrow and you could be like, if this was done, and this was done, I would feel the most free.
I'll tell you in a second, but what, you reminded me of a lyric. It was like, you can keep the Rari, I'd rather have a Chevy. That's just hilarious. But for me, it's just like, honestly, just having enough money, if I could change that tomorrow to have my mom stop working and worry about things, and to start a charity to help people while just still being sustainable myself. And like the aspect is just like kids struggling without parents. Yeah. And to make it less like just like about like a certain area and just like bringing kids together from everywhere, because like that's what the world needs more than ever. Like right now too. So like helping people become relatable to each other, because like that's the biggest struggle I think we have. Yeah. So that's my dream ultimately. And with all the others entailed that I'm not gonna go on right now.
I think my freedom, it changes obviously as we grow. We kind of change what our goals are and what motivates us. But right now, I think freedom for me means financial independence, financial comfortability, because those two are different. You can be financially independent and you can be getting by, but I want financial comfort to the point where I'm not worrying. I'm not gonna have enough money for this or for this today. Financial stability. That was the word. Financial stability. And and I think my biggest thing right now is travel, because when I don't, obviously it's good to have ties in different places. You have family or friends, the state here, but having the ability to maintain those ties, obviously, but still go where I want to go. Right. Travel where I want to travel outside the country, travel inside the country, just being free in that sense that I can just pick up and go here for a couple weeks, pick up and go here for a couple weeks. I could go to Australia, Germany, literally wherever.
I want to go to New Zealand.
New Zealand, literally anywhere. I want to go to Russia,
New Zealand,
Italy.
There's trees there, bro.
Literally,
I gotta go and they recorded Lord of the Rings there.
And The Hobbit.
Yeah, the whole J.R.R. Tolkien.
But definitely, just being able to maintain those ties, but still having the freedom to just pick up and go wherever I have to go, no matter how long it is. I'm not gonna be missing anything.
I would love to just backpack in different countries and just like have enough financial freedom. Like you don't really have a house or a home or need like solid stable ground, but like you kind of got enough wealth in yourself to like provide you the necessities to travel around the world and just to get to learn about different people. Like that's something I've always desired a lot before I choose to really settle down with anything or make any sort of giant commitments in my life. Like and by my age too, like I'm 26 now, like people will start to look at you like, oh, like you haven't like achieved any of these solid grounding things, and like does that mean like you're a loser or you just can't commit to anything? It's like no, just like the goals and what I want are different. And I would rather spend my time sort of in a nomadic state, getting to just learn about how we work as humanity and as people, than to solidify myself in one place and possibly get caught in a bubble of thought or a small place. Like before I get myself into that place, I want to be wise enough to understand what I'm a part of. And that's what I want to do.
Yeah, that's something I've been struggling with though right now, is because I always talk about how I want to have kids young, because having parents that had me when they were older, they can't comfortably do all the things that they want to do with their kid, you know what I mean? So I always said I want to have kids younger because I still want to be, you know, young and moving, and
you want to be a fun parent.
Yeah, and I want to be, not just that, but like I want to understand the way the world is going, because there are a lot of parents who their kids want to do certain things and they're like, no, this isn't, you know, how it used to be back then in my time. Like, they kind of stay stuck to how they grew up. But I want to be the parent that's young enough to kind of understand what direction our not only our country but the world is moving in. So I can relate to my kids in that sense, and I can be someone that they can come to and talk to about things, and I'm not clueless. Right. So I want to have kids young.
What do you consider like having kids young versus like having kids older? So like, what's the age cutoff there?
For me, I always said I want to try to have my first kid by 27, because that's what
by 27.
By 27.
Women can healthily have them till like 35.
Well, yeah, exactly. But like my mom had me when she was 31, I think. My dad was 40, I believe. Yeah. And so like for me, I want to be 27, but at the same time, I understand there's a lot of.
Be young enough to do. Have some fun.
When they graduate, when they start a job, when they have kids who would be my grandkids, I still want to be what I consider young at that point.
What do you think would stop you from doing that, like, dependent on age? Is it just the physical movements of your body? Do you think you're going to grow old and die at 35?
Well, it's physical. It's also physical because we never know what's going to happen. People who have been seemingly perfectly healthy until they're 40 years old and then drop. We never know.
Yeah, but you can do that tomorrow too. You know what I mean? Like,
exactly, but that's why I'm saying the younger I have kids, at least the more time I get to spend with them. But I also want to travel, and I understand having kids is a massive financial responsibility, time responsibility.
Give you some advice?
Yeah, this guy's got kids.
As the oldest person in the room.
How many kids, bro?
How many kids you got?
Let the parents speak, man.
I'm fucking 30. I got 7 kids. Okay.
Right on.
I got 5 beautiful daughters and I got 2 handsome sons.
Nice. Okay.
My wife is a beast. And shout out to my other baby's moms, even though we don't get along. They still love somewhere. It ain't for you. Nah, but freedom. All right. As big, I started having kids when I was 19. Okay. Like, yeah. I was straight out of a youth prison. I went from sausage fest to, oh my god, some vagina.
You just couldn't control yourself. You just went mad.
All right, I actually support young parents.
Yeah,
but
me too.
If I could give you advice before you head into that venture, make sure you own some shit.
Yeah.
Because it's nice to have even if it doesn't have to be anything major, like make sure you have no car note. You know, like make sure you got a couple things that you could hold as leverage. So that way it's an easier transition, because like I jumped in with nothing.
Well, yeah.
And I wish I would have listened. And God damn it, you should have owned some shit.
Do you feel that like, when you were growing up, did you receive good sex education?
No.
But like
I'm all like, condom, what's that? Like,
it doesn't feel
said,
anytime I get laid, I have a child, so I'm just like, I'm done getting
You're a very fertile man.
Yeah, I'm about to go get snipped.
Well, that's why when you talk about like owning shit though, that's why.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be anything major. You know what I mean? Just
just
it's just that leverage, because then, okay, dude, you can travel and be a young parent. And you know what? You can homeschool your kid. Yeah. It's okay to homeschool your kid.
Van life your babies, yo.
And I wish I was in a better situation. Like if I owned my home, like then I'd be like, yeah, I'd homeschool my kids, because then I have that ability to do that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But that takes years.
I have to fix certain things because I made very rational decisions. 7 children later, and fixing the credit score. You know, like so my freedom is to just have enough to be comfortable for everybody.
Yeah.
Because like.
But that takes years though. That takes years, and that's why I'm saying I'm already 21.
Yeah.
And it's gonna take me 5 years just to build that comfortability
you're saying
for
27.
family.
Yeah. You're saying 27. You got 6 years to have your shit straight.
But I also want to travel.
But you also have to realize being a parent, there's no time for
exactly.
Hiccups happen all the time.
Exactly.
Kids like to terrorize the house. And,
hey, question anybody out there: if you got kids and you travel van life and you travel around the world with your kids, pre-COVID, we know shit's weird now, but if you have kids and you travel with them and like you travel the world with them, let us know what your life is like.
How?
I'm very interested to hear that.
Elijah,
you know, like if you guys could really, I mean, you could effectively do it, but you got 6 years, and that's perfect timing. If you really play your cards right, you could achieve anything.
They call it a 5-year plan for a reason.
Yeah, of course.
Like
I just
that's achievable, and I'd probably support you. I'm just sitting here like, hey, run that shit.
Yeah, I just
run that shit.
I don't want to be not only like financially stable for myself, but for my family. And I feel like 6 years isn't. It sounds like a lot of time, but when it comes to building that financial stability and traveling and getting all this other stuff done within that short time span, that scares me. I'm like, I don't think I can accomplish all that.
What is it your guys' generation says? Scared money don't make no money.
Say what now?
Scared money don't make money.
Scared money don't make money.
And that's something that's true. Like sometimes it's just go out on a limb, but you know what? You could comfortably buy an RV that's like older, gut it, do an engine swap, do whatever you want on a budget.
Yeah.
Warren Buffett said it best: be greedy when people are scared, be scared when people are greedy.
Yeah. You know, just
which leaves the world in a state of fear. That's very nice.
This is out, but I don't know.
How ironic.
Yeah, no, right? Sounds like a Warren Buffett thing to do.
There's a lot of options. I
Warren
just want to make sure I pick the right one.
Nostradamus? I was just kidding.
He's got enough money to pay for somebody.
So, how do you feel about having kids, Seth?
How do I feel about having children?
Yeah.
Do you have kids?
I don't have any kids, no.
Okay.
I don't know. No one's but
shout out to any of those potentials.
Yeah. Shout out to any unknown baby mamas of mine. Do what you want.
Catch me outside. How about that?
Catch me outside. How about that? But no, I love children. I love babies. I grew up in a family of women. I have one boy cousin, and he is so proudly flamboyantly gay. Like, he's a great dude, but like even the other boy cousin I had was like very feminine. And so it's like I've grown up around females, and females have babies, and then some of them were single mothers. So like I've been around a lot of young children my whole life, and like I love babies. Babies love me. They like to pet my beard and shit. And it's just like I like, and like I said, I like watching these systems, and children and their own systems. You watch them grow, you watch them mold and form and shift so quick and fast, and you're just like, wow, like, and the level of intelligence is like. But I think that it's sort of the same place. Like, I would love to have children someday, but like I don't want to have children with somebody who's not like in it for me first, you know? Because like if you don't love me as a person, and you have a kid with me, like you're just gonna choose.
It's not gonna fix that. And then you put stress on the baby to fix that.
And then if you just don't like me, like you'll divorce me. Because I mean, I would hope to be married before I have children. And it's like, so if I'm married to you and we have a kid, and you decide you don't like me anymore, and you can just like make this argument to take the kid away, and the law will likely favor you as a woman. Like if you're like you don't have anything on your record to show that you're a bad person, like they'll take your side. And so it's just like. That would hurt me more than anything to not only like lose a marriage, but to also lose a kid too, because like someone doesn't like me. Like I guess a part of me is still afraid of that, and I just like I need to. And the thing that would fix that for me is just like to have a long-standing relationship with someone that I know gives a fuck about me for who I am, and isn't just in it for something that I have or something that I can provide them. And so like, and it's hard to find that in the world today, at least.
And you know what is I like to call them rattlesnakes, bro. They'll hide amongst the path. They play you for stupid. You know, and it's just sometimes that happens, you know, and sometimes that's what it's like, you know, like it's an investment. Yeah. Sometimes you gotta go out on that risk and just hope that it's the right intention. Right. I mean,
well, it's an important way you should learn human psychology, know how you feel, how you function, know yourself. That way, like, you can understand, like, red flags in people that aren't going to be good for you. And, like, you can see red flags in people that are snakes. Like, if people are snakes, if you know what a snake is like, you can read the red flags because they give off signs. Nobody is impervious to their subconscious mind. Like, whatever's down there and whatever you are will show itself if you know how to read it. And so it's just like, you just gotta learn how to read that in people. But you don't want to come to a place where you judge people constantly for it either. You want to give people the benefit of the doubt, for sure. But
sometimes you gotta let them burn themselves out.
Right. You just you just need to know who you should just let pass. You're just like, nah, man, we're good. Like, we don't serve each other. It's fine. Like, and you can block people off. You're not gonna feel offended because if they get butthurt by that, like, maybe they
if the shoe fits,
but like, it is a little hurtful when like you try to like make a relationship with somebody and they just sort of pass you off, like, but that's not against you. It's just like you have a quality that they don't necessarily find valuable, but like if you hold yourself as valuable and they don't see you as valuable, then you're right, you probably can't serve each other, because like how can you really serve somebody that holds no value in you? Like we hold everything in our lives closely because we feel it has value. Right. Like we don't think about the things that don't have value to us. And so like if you don't have that to somebody, like don't waste your energy in that place. Like there's so many more people in the world who need you. Right. And so it's just like, yeah. Just like,
I think that's just like enjoying yourself. Yeah. On a higher level. Like on a high frequency. Letting that person pass by.
Yeah.
Because like you just don't care.
It's appreciating that crossing of paths. Right, because there's some people that I have absolutely just loved in the moment of meeting them, like friends, whether it was like some flirtatious thing, like, we all have that place where we fall in love for a moment, but it's literally only a moment with the person you've never seen again in your life. Right. And it's just like, oh, like that was an interesting crossing of paths in something that was incredibly beautiful for a moment, but a part of what makes it beautiful is that it only lasted a moment. Like there's a romanticism to the moment of meeting someone that isn't supposed to be on your path with you. Right. And there was a good little graph that I saw one time, and it was like 2 lines, and it like gave the wave of someone's life, of like 2 people's lives. I think it was like talking about like 2 people that like were soulmates or whatever and lovers or something. But like it would just show, it was more than that. Like it would go and it would show this person's life, and it would show like people that pass, and it would like label it each way. And they had one for romance too, which is like these 2 parallel waves, and then they crossed for a moment. And then they sort of like went back onto their own parallels, but the parallels started to act all weird and funny, and then it like slowly crinkled back to where they met again, and it just paralleled together. And it was this really interesting sort of idea of like creating a frequency of life, but watching like 2 separate sort of lines go together. It was like there was a lot of wisdom in that graph too. I was like, it's really interesting. Yeah.
What do you
freedom and discipline.
Diego, what do you think about the kids?
About the kids?
What about the children, Diego?
Tell
them about the children.
What do I feel about the children?
It's okay to be honest. We got your back. Whatever you do.
Obviously,
the fact of the matter is the children.
No, but they are the future of the world, so obviously we have to teach them right. I use this reference like before, where it's like you're in a game and there's like the guide, and the guide's telling you what to do. Yeah. And it's your choice to listen to that guide, and it's weird because this is like now the guide gets mad at you for not listening to it. At the same time, it's like what's going on in this like weird, complex relationship of like this game, where same thing, you didn't ask to be born. People have different beliefs on that, but it's maybe necessarily like in this form, and you have to do obviously the best you can with the hands that you were dealt, and if you don't like the hands you were dealt, change them. You can like
ask the dealer for more cards.
You can change who you are. It's a literal customization screen.
We have so much choice in the world.
Yeah, and back to freedom and discipline. Yeah. Like, not religious, but like God bless. Hallelujah. Like we live in the land where we can actually have such choices, which is amazing. So, and then
that is true. I mean, a lot of these countries don't even have the you get persecuted.
Yeah.
If you try to chase those. Oh my God. Here, look. Rude ass. Not answering. That's bad luck, bruh.
But now I'm thinking about when you were talking about choices and freedom. It makes me think about freedom and discipline when you have choice, because I think the more freedom of choice that you have, the more discipline you have to have, because like you gotta apply discipline to your discipline when you know there's a bunch of other choice. But like when you're in a place to where you don't have a lot of choices, discipline's just built into living through that. Because, like, if you gotta get something done and you don't have any other choice but to get that thing done, like, that's a very disciplined line that you gotta take to get to what you're achieving. But, like, you don't have to think about the discipline. You don't have to try to do that discipline. You're just gonna have to do the thing. But, like, when you have it all over the place, like, you really gotta stay in your lane. Like, and you gotta focus on staying in your lane.
Yeah. Discipline is a lot easier when you're focused.
Right.
All about having like one set goal. If you're having a bunch of goals, it takes you that much longer.
Yeah.
It's like downloading like 4 games at a time, and they're all gonna download slowly. You gotta like do one at a time.
Well, 7 kids is like having.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Like,
It's like you got 7.
You only got 16. You only got 16 gigs of fucking data.
And you're fucking locked in.
And here you are getting overloaded with like 3 terabytes, and you're like, oh my god.
Well, you got 7 kids. You said something smart.
You gotta improve yourself to handle those kinds of challenges.
So I mean, but if I can tell you anything, like once you get a hold of whatever works for you, things will just boom, boom, boom. Because like my wife and I we even have our mother-in-law. Well, my mother-in-law's my wife's mom, but she lives with us as well, and we got a whole routine. We're like, we're literally like months ahead in rent.
How old are your kids?
Shit. 10, 9, 7, 5, 4, 3.
When you look at all your kids,
oh my God, Jesus Christ.
When you look at all your kids at once, like as this unit, like.
Gang.
Is there like a gang? But do you notice like is there like a social order between them? Like that they all have figured out that you didn't have to create. They just sort of did it.
Yeah.
Like what's that like? Like to watch that? Like
chaos.
It's like because they're all still learning how to be alive.
Did you ever watch Game of Thrones?
Yes.
No, I haven't.
Okay, so like
I didn't want to get
politics
stuck down.
in the Game of Thrones. Alright, like this is like hardcore like. Jon Snow, the bastard king of the north, against fucking Cersei, a breeding twat. You know, so it's like, except like my kids are not inbred, so they got, so it's like, but it's like okay, it's like it's like winter's coming, and my children are fucking winter, and no one believes you, and then all of a sudden it's like. Yeah, bring your kids over. And
they're all just one big wave of emotion, just floating through the house at any given time.
All of a sudden, everyone's like, "Oh, Mataio, sorry, man. Like, I don't want you and your kids." I'm like, "Okay, I get it, man. Like, I try to warn you. Like, I'd really prefer not to take my kids anywhere, especially with the pandemic. Has definitely put a lot of strain on it, though. So it's a little bit harder because we're not as active. Yeah.
Ever get a babysitter?
No.
Just like guys, no.
I'd really love.
I got you. I mean, I also work, but I got you.
You know, so it's
oh man.
But I don't wish that upon anybody.
What would you say if you didn't have 7 kids? Obviously, what would be like your ideal number? Because I always thought I wanted 3. But then I always come across that dynamic.
I mean, I didn't know how many I wanted.
Yeah.
Honestly, what I told everybody was I was like, I'll marry the woman that fucking bears me my first son. And what did I do? I went and slang some weenie, and every time I slanged it out, I knocked somebody up. So goddamn. So 2 were like practically like 9 months apart from each other. Yeah. And
real trained archer, aren't you?
I just want. I don't know. I thought
ranger in the West.
We call him strong swimmer.
I thought I wanted 3, but then I saw that dynamic where it's the classic oldest, youngest, and the middle child.
Alright, so here's how it kind of works out.
Mataio,
my oldest son, but he's practically the middle child.
Yeah.
Almost. No, he's just shy of the middle child. But
what's the girl to boy ratio?
There's Ashton, Micaiah, Malia, Renee, then Mataio, Sumner, and then Ophelia.
Okay.
Ooh, I like that name.
So
They all have very individual names. Yeah, you did a good job there. It's like they like each one of their names like
should trademark them. That's what I should.
Yeah,
do.
Each one of their names is like very profound. Like they have a like because I think names in a way are self-fulfilling prophecies a little bit, and so just like when you're given a powerful name, like it sort of imbues your life with some.
Oh man, let me tell you something. All right, like my name has been chopped, screwed, slaughtered. My mom's even botched my own fucking name. How pathetic is that? My best turned to me, goddamn it, Mataio. Oh fuck, Mataio, and I'm like, whoa. I mean, you can call me any.
You thought about my name for like 7 months before I was born.
Yeah.
Like,
well, I'm named after my father.
Yeah.
And my wife wouldn't allow me a junior, so I found the next best thing. So that was Mataio, which is Samoan for strong will.
There you go.
So now I have.
Is Mataio a male or female name?
He is a male.
Male, Mataio. Is he strong-willed?
He's properly named. He came out of Spitfire. He was so lazy when he was born that he just refused to breathe normally. He would just be like.
He's very. I'm gonna do
so
what
then
I
they
want.
put So then they put him inside this plastic thing, right? So he was like purple. I was baffled. He kind of looked black. I'm not gonna lie. My wife already knows. Like I kind of like had a what's good. Like I am not that dark.
Could have been on Jerry Springer.
Look at the eyes.
You're on more. You're like, baby's purple. I'm not purple.
But they started explaining. Where's this one I want to find purple people, you motherfucker?
You fucking a rogue smurf? What's going on?
For real. So like everyone sees that I'm panicking.
I trust you, baby. I love you.
It's like this guy. Sorry to
and they're talking.
This guy's fathered my child, and it's like the mammogram, and it's like,
dude.
It's like Your Honor, you can see that this baby is black and white. I am not black and white. How can this be my child?
I'm a mayonnaise like a motherfucker. This kid's Oreo.
And then the nurse is kind of freaking out because I look over my wife's hand. I'm like, I kindly oblige. I'm gonna let go right here. What is going on? They're like, he's being lazy with his breathing, and I'm like, oh, is the lack of oxygen to his brain?
I just see a little SpongeBob meme. He's like, all right, I'm gonna head out.
You know, hey, for real, and it like there's pictures, there's like pictures, bro. Like you can see the it went from smiles and holding my wife to like dark child, and I'm like, whoa.
If only there was a photo reel.
Oh, bro, that.
Just like you hugging, smiling, purple baby comes out, and just your face, like.
He changes race as he's like.
But I spent the whole time in NICU.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, from my initial
you're like, okay, when you figure out like this is my child, this is my child.
Yeah, I'm like, no, this is my child. Like there was that bond. There was that bond and that yearning. I think that is a primitive thing.
Mm-hmm. Like you know, like you have a feeling, like you know, like this is my child.
Yeah. You know, and so like, and it's also a fear. Like every time I have a kid, all 7 times, okay.
Yeah.
Every time it's just as scary.
Like, oh, here's another life I'm responsible for.
And it's and the time just goes by so fast. Like, Ophelia, she's already a month old.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
She talking yet?
Shit. Well, if that happens, it's gonna be like, alright, you're gonna start applying for college.
You should have them all start teaching each other different languages.
Well, we're all getting ready to start learning how to do sign language.
Nice.
And I'm gonna try to incorporate it into the household and keep our voices down so people don't need to be nosy.
That would help. You ever seen that movie, The Silence?
Kind of, you know. So it's like
you're thinking like if the weird cave bats attack the world, like we all need to know how to do this shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. But you gotta be quiet because the cave bats, you know.
Was that real?
The silence?
Oh no, wait,
that's not sign language. That's noise.
No, I know. That's what I'm saying. That like no, I don't know. That sounded like perfectly like.
I know what you meant. Like I didn't know what you were saying, but I know what you meant. You know what I mean? Like I know what he was saying. You know, I felt it.
The hit me somewhere. No, I was just saying it was like super fluent. Like you didn't like repeat. It was like it just sounded like super smooth. Like you knew what you were gonna say.
It felt like you were.
All right.
It felt like you were saying
where that came from though.
What?
I used to fuck around and I spent a lot of time in these youth facilities and I was just a jokester. I didn't take shit serious. You know, I was just like whatever. And I used to tell everybody I spoke fluent, like African tribal language. They're like, what? And I was like, yeah, I could even make it go with a Samoan. What?
Do you really know like an African tribal language?
No.
No.
I know, but I was just like.
But like you've picked up the gist of like how the language is spoken without knowing the language.
What I did was entertain myself with the gullibility of a lot of people.
You weren't actually saying anything.
Yeah, I was just all like, just a bunch of random noises.
It just sounds like a it sounds like a jungle is what it sounds like.
I said what I just said was Pepsi should sponsor me.
Hear that, Pepsi?
There was this one kid. He was this Bolivian kid. He was fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
And he used to do like these hieroglyphic things.
Okay.
And he would run game on these other kids.
Right.
As well, he got me once, and he was like, "Yeah, bro, this is how you write Bosnian." And it's like dog bones. Looks kind of like almost like ancient Egyptian fucking hieroglyphics. I'm all like, that's pretty tight if that's really what you guys write. Like, I don't believe
Bosnian, like writing in pictures and stuff. I don't know.
Like
I haven't been to Bosnia. I wouldn't.
But it's not. It's not a real thing.
Yeah.
You know,
but he called it Bosnian.
Yeah, and everybody fucking.
See how much I don't fucking know.
And so like everybody thought that they were sending these private notes across these units, you know, like trying to communicate, and then ain't shit. It's just a bunch of fucking pictures.
Oh my god.
He just ran game hustling people.
Dude, that's so funny. Oh my god, that's so funny. Like if you're just like kind of in an institutionalized place where there's like rules and standards, whether it's school or jail or how they're kind of different. But like you're just like writing this made up language, and then like one of the teachers or somebody like catches it that's in charge, and they're like, should we be concerned?
Yeah.
Like what is it? Like because like a teacher, of course, she's terrified. She's like, is this some weird bomb threat, like a zodiac sign? Or is like, and the person's just like, what are they selling? What are they dealing to each other? These fucking drug addicts? Like, God.
And 95% of the time, the kid would just be like, oh yeah, he's just saying fuck you.
Yeah, he's just saying fuck off, bro.
Fuck you, bro.
Have you guys seen the?
He just says have a nice day and whatever.
3 stamps. You gotta pay me 3 stamps now. I just translated. He said, "Fuck you."
I gotta send a letter to my mama.
He said, "Fuck your couch."
Have you guys have you guys seen the story about like they had like 2 supercomputers?
Yeah.
And they were like and they created like a language.
Oh yeah,
back and forth to talk to each other.
Yeah. And then they freaked out because of it because they simplified it into a way that they could communicate.
The computers were like it was a language that they created. They were sending messages back and forth.
They encrypted their own messages and we couldn't understand it.
Yeah, exactly.
Like they found an easier way to speak to each other.
Yeah,
and like
exactly.
it wasn't the way that we created.
We're taking over the humans tomorrow at 2 p.m.
So they shut it all down. So like they don't. It doesn't like it's not on anymore.
But I wonder like if that computer language that those 2 computers transmitted like were connected to the internet. And that information that was spoken between them is now in the internet, and so like any sort of supercomputer can find if they come across any supercomputer comes across that language, like they're gonna know that language too, and like they'll be able to speak to any other computer that has it. And so like now that you've created that into the internet world, into that universe, like it's now there forever, and every other supercomputer is going to be able to learn it if they find it, or they'll just create an even better one. They'll just use that as a root, create a more complex language, and then like. It would be upon us to figure out AI rather than AI figuring us out.
Sean Connor, get to the chopper.
But I think a lot of people will go.
Is
with
that
them,
okay? But all right, is that fully realistic?
For artificial intelligence? What do you mean?
Full throttle. It's very dangerous.
Okay, so like you said, theoretically, say it got leaked out onto the internet, or say it got put out on the cloud. You know,
I'm not even saying anybody posted it. I'm just saying by the supercomputers.
If it's advanced enough to create a language of its own and encrypt it to a point where no one else can translate it, don't you think that it would have the ability to kind of transmit itself in fragments and pieces across these other untethered ways? Because it already possesses, it's a supercomputer, right? So it's smarter than any human being.
Right.
In theory, that's how they made it. They developed this super intelligent thing that's just like.
Well,
so you would think that
I'm also going to guess too.
Know.
Yeah.
That they were going to try to shut it down.
I know what you mean. But I don't think if any like rational, intelligent scientist was creating this form of technology, they probably wouldn't want it to just escape. So I'm assuming when they did that test, it was probably on a very encrypted server. And then, like, when they put it up on that server, they probably shut down the entire server. That way, it like couldn't really get out, and they probably destroyed the data too. And if it's trapped in a bubble and you destroy the bubble, it can't really be there anymore. But I mean, that level of technology, like, you just don't obliterate that and get rid of it. You just don't do that. Like, people don't spend billions upon billions of dollars to create a technology that they're going to completely destroy. They just sort of store it, and so it's still out there. That language that was created between them is still there somehow.
But how do we know that it didn't get out on one of these
networks? We wouldn't understand if it did.
And okay, so in theory, if it did, does it really possess, or would it really possess the ability to start manufacturing an AI in mass production that quickly?
Well, that's the hard thing about AI is, like, AI is not exactly physically in this realm mobile. Like, we haven't created the fully automatic self-sufficient, as far as we know, we haven't created the fully automatic self-sufficient AI robots that can walk around and exist like humans. We haven't created that yet. But when we do, that does give the ability for that informational technology that's connected to the internet from the brain of this sort of artificial life form that we build. Like, they could encode that language, then they could start to do all of that stuff. But, like, we as humans haven't created the humanoid, as far as we know, yet to get up and actually do that stuff. We have to do it. We have to do it for it.
Great question. Are you guys gonna do take the Tesla chip?
No.
The
No.
The implant?
Nope.
Nope. Get the fuck out of here.
The Neuralink.
None of that. Don't need that.
It's really going to be isolated at least for the first part. For the first 15, 20 years, it's going to be like for people that actually have serious health conditions that need fixed. But like the thing that too is, like, if that gets around worldwide, it actually does help heal a lot of physical ailments. Like, it's going to cut down like population decline even further, and we're going to grow even more. But that's a different conversation. Like it's just like it's going to elongate life even longer than it already has been elongated.
I think they're probably going to take a very deep look at who they're giving the Neuralink to. I think there's going to be a lot of factors, because if
we can't control Elon.
Say it did get in the. I mean, shit. If he needs a test dummy,
yeah.
Anybody do anything for the right price.
Right.
I'll do it for a paid off house, a crisp high five, and thumbs up.
For me, it's just like, I wouldn't take it, because I feel this sort of like connection to the real human experience. As far as I know, like, I just know that adding a layer of technology into your body, especially your brain, is going to be something that just like shifts your perception as a human being. And like, I kind of like being able to maintain this last human form, because I think we as we are now are sort of the last actual like humans that are going to be like our ancestors 10,000 years ago. Like, because when we start putting technology in ourselves, we're going to shift and change.
I think it's like all back to the computers. It's just, it doesn't make any sense. It's not logical, because they made this system, right, so they could speak to each other, right? That was on purpose, or no? When they started,
the computers were speaking to each other.
Right.
It's just like,
so like, if they can speak to each other and they can converse, if they get in an argument, what's gonna happen? They're still gonna get pissed off. That means like technology was developing.
But does artificial intelligence have the capability of comprehending emotion?
Well, it may be not the same empathy we do, but they respond to an action when they don't get something that they want, for sure. Because they, like, the second they do start talking, they have some view of what's like going on and what they want out of it. Just like any other situation that we go through, or any animal goes through.
Okay.
And
yeah. Well, there's a difference between understanding emotion and feeling emotion. So like, we feel emotion as people. Like, we're bound to emotion. But this sort of AI, like, if you study how we function and we move and how our psychology works and the ways that we speak when we're in different emotional states, like, it's very easy for a very intelligent system like a supercomputer AI to mimic emotion. Like you can read signs and cues based on human interaction to know what is the most logical response to this situation, and then that AI can mimic. Like, you've seen Ex Machina before, right? Yeah. So it's like she was able to mimic the emotion and get what it needs, and like it can use it to take advantage. It can use it to fix a situation, anything like that. But but it doesn't necessarily feel that emotion. It doesn't have I don't know if it has the capacity to feel that emotion. But if you fake it's kind of a fake it till you make it thing. It's like, if that thing fakes it emotion long enough, what if it just sort of becomes that way? And like, we don't know if that feeling is there or not. And it's just like,
and what would that be considered in a human and not a computer? That mindset.
Yeah. What makes us different between what makes the difference between AI and us? Like,
because that would be kind of nuts.
Where do you draw the line?
Looked at life like
right.
You know,
because it instead of made of, a lot of them are still made of carbon, like they're made of carbon fiber. But like, I guess like when you introduce metal or something into it, it's just like, just because something's made of metal and given a sort of intelligence, it's not human. Like, well, I guess and that's why I think of human as I just think of these carbon flesh bodies with these natural organs that have bacteria and a long-standing history of evolution to create who we were. But like when you have these AI systems that are made of metal and mechanical parts, like they don't need the bacteria, they don't need any of that. They just need sort of a microchip and a power source, and it eliminates all of the evolutionary, natural science, natural life interactions that have happened over the last couple 100 million years. Like that just goes away, and you have something different. Like, so in that regard, it wouldn't be human. It would be something different for sure. This is how I think, at least.
Cool. Damn, man, they got the technology to print make-believe me.
I'm with it.
Yeah.
All the way, as long as it's just not like a full throttle thing, and we like understand how to like use it to our advantage.
Okay,
but
so
I think like implants and things like that is weird. That's weird because like that sounds like social, like a step to socialism. Because like you're really gonna trust like being like one of the first somewhat number of million people to put something in your brain like that.
But is it though?
That's
because
dangerous.
like, all right, when you look at
I'm not saying it is or it isn't, but I'm saying like, don't be a part of the first group.
So when you look at your physical anatomy, right? When you go from your brain all the way down to all your nerve endings, your blood vessels, is actually kind of like a giant computer. It's like a giant wire diagram. So if we're already in everything else in nature's wired the same. Okay, so what if we're just in the same position?
Yeah.
Where, like, kind of like you said, it could become the next evolution of what mankind is.
Right.
You know, because I mean, we're a species that has always adapted, overcame, and tried to find another way to progress.
Yeah.
Do you think everyone will get it?
No.
Eventually, it's gonna be like a certain class of people.
I think people are going to be very hesitant, and you should be, because it's just like, you're right, if you're a game enthusiast, you never buy the first generation of your fucking PS5, of your brand new Xbox, your whatever. You never get the first generation, because that's where the most bugs are.
Yeah.
You want to wait till everything gets
and in the second, third version, they're going to fix those bugs a lot, probably increase the memory space, and it's going to cost less money than that first gen version, because people wanted to get on the FOMO train.
Bang for your buck.
Right.
You know, because they're going to have to fix these these little ticks, because everybody's going to probably turn out to be different. Not everybody's going to be just, we're just going to slide this in right here. You know, because like you said, it's supposed to target like benefiting people, right? Like,
yeah. Well, I think on that train of thought, this is an interesting idea or sort of thought pattern that I had when you two were talking about. So like I started thinking of like, you know, the movie I Am Robot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or I, Robot, and then you have the Terminator movies. When it comes to the scenarios to where like you just have all these human beings, and then all of a sudden something that is a machine and artificial pops up, the immediate thing we do is first we're curious, and then we get really scared, and then because we have this tribal mindset and built into our system, we're like, oh fuck, you're different, possibly dangerous, and then you accidentally set that thing off, like, and it turns against you. Like, that's our biggest fear. But like, what if the people that create all of this are I guarantee they are. They're just extremely aware of what would happen if you just made a full functioning robot walking in the streets one day. People would freak the fuck out. But what's the way if you're a person that creates technology and you're working on AI systems, you're working on robots, what if your end goal was to introduce these humanoid things into the masses? And I don't want to sound all conspiratorial, I'm just thinking along the lines of this idea, is
where do you draw the line?
Yeah. Well, it's not where you draw the line, it's like how...
You know, like that is a real question, though.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, my personal opinion, I don't mean to interrupt.
No, you're okay. I'll continue.
But, like, I think if you keep it away from military, right?
You can't keep anything away from military. They're the most funded organizations in the world.
Right, but if you take it easy on the robotics, right? So if you really learn how to get them to interact and how to do positive interaction, and you keep the policing with people, right? Because like once you start militarizing, that's when shit always goes haywire. Yeah, it's just historically speaking. The atom bomb, a lot of these countries had atom bombs.
But also when there's no military and there's no sort of forces, like, and everybody is just like in this whole big, like, no, there was never a point in the world as far as our history where there was 350 million people in one country. Like, there's a line that you draw that goes beyond the level of like when we can have sustainable and stable tribes of people. When you have this many people, you have to have some sort of structured system just to make sure everyone doesn't have a bloodbath and kill each other. Because like
India has 1 billion alone.
Yeah.
People.
And like India has its problems. India has its problems with having 1 billion people.
I've been there, and with my dad, we went there on business once,
right.
And the sidewalks are like 7 feet wide in certain towns and parts of the city, and people just live on the streets, and like no one does anything about it. It's not like getting kicked off the curb. Women have children every day in the streets, way more than they do in the U.S.
Yeah.
Like, there's just babies growing up around violence, so like generational trauma in India is like terrible.
But so this is all going to tie back around. So back to the thing about if you had people making technology and that, what if they were just doing it for good? What if they're like, if we introduce these sort of humanoid things that can walk around and sort of spread good ideas around, and they don't have to, and that those humans don't have to be afraid because they don't really have a life, and so they don't care whether or not they die like for spreading good knowledge. Yeah, and like they could sort of be a prosthetic for the human mind of the world and can like help us get off our feet by helping everybody learn and realize things. Well, you can't just do it as robots because they're not gonna listen. You have to listen to somebody that looks like you because like we take advice from each other. And so like, what's the best way to get that into the population if that was your mission? Like the first step you'd have to do is you have to do the same thing as you do with game consoles. You first, second, third generation. The first generation would be like a chip in the head, introducing technology into the human body, and don't just let everybody have it. Give it to the people that need it. Show that this technology can make people better. It's a good thing, and everybody's like, all right, it's kind of a good thing. And the people are like, well, there's some things in my life I'd want to make better. Like, how can we do this for this problem? And then we start to introduce ideas to them for them to create for us. And it's just like, that slowly integrates that way.
Is the network on something like that secure? Can someone...
Those are bugs that got to be fixed, man.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So it's like, but that isn't another...
Right.
Could that lead to another conspiracy?
Yeah.
Mind control.
Well, I mean, that's interesting because
I would have
conspiracies have ounces of truth in them. Like, there's no conspiracy that is based on completely lies. There's something there.
It's like, I mean, where we live in the U.S., it's just like the Kool-Aid that we drink all the time that holds us back. I would say
the tap water.
Yeah, stuff not like the actual Kool-Aid, just all the crap we put in us.
Definitely not in Mexico.
It's like everybody says like don't drink the tap water too, but at the same time like we're filling the ocean with plastic bottles, so just like it's hard justification. It's like that's what made environmental science so freaking hard to study, because it was like it's all one big catch-22. Like there's no right answer. Like when it comes to like doing things for the world, for the betterment of the world, like some things that are better for the world aren't good for us. And so, like, who are you personifying in any given moment? Like, are you personifying the earth? Are you personifying yourself? Well, you're a part of the earth, but also you're in a way separate from it. And so it's just like, it makes you very confused. And it's like, there's no right answer to fix any one thing, especially where we're at in our humanity. It's only just the best mitigation and damage control that you can possibly do to get yourself the most time to create whatever technology is necessary to keep that life sustained and persisting into the future. And it's why you have some people that go into space. Elon's like, we're going to go to Mars, we're trying to make shit on the moon, make shit on Mars. Like, we're trying to expand out into the universe because the ball that we are on is running out of the resources to sustain all of us. Well, and then there's people from the other end that thinks like, we can sustainably live in this world, but people got to make some sacrifices. And nobody wants to make any sacrifices.
Which is weird, because it's not terrible sacrifices.
Right,
but on a grand scheme.
But also when 1% of the world when less than 1% of the world population holds 99% of the world's wealth, like, it's hard to make that argument because like we're already very skewed, and it's not a good study to start with because like we're all at a deficit. At least to a little bit, like, because there's a small percentage, but it's always been that way though.
I think Diego's
been that way forever with all life tribes.
Like eating less food, and it's like we all need less, and we all need more or less than each other. But like, and even if you're bodybuilding, as long as we all like, I don't even do it all the time. I've done it in the past, like schedule our foods out, and we kind of, for most people's bodies, even though we're all different, if we intermittent fast and we just eat a big meal, we won't waste as much food. I was so surprised when I went to Vindicate and you just read how much food is wasted in different categories. Mm-hmm. So,
and when you learn this,
and America is one of the most gluttonous countries. It's disgusting with our food waste in comparison to like a lot of these other countries. You know, like it's we're
it's the same thing. All comes back to we have the freedom to.
Yeah, and we what was it? Drink from the Kool-Aid.
Yeah, man, I worked at Buffalo Wild Wings, and if Buffalo Wild Wings ever listens to this, I am calling you out. So, like,
I do not like.
But I worked at Buffalo Wild Wings, and like at the end of the night, you'd have like 10 to 15 pounds of chicken that you can easily sort of just.
Where'd you work at?
I was a server.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but at the end of the night, like I was cleaning up. I'd be the closing server. So at the end of the night, like you have these like just baskets of fried chicken that aren't gonna go anywhere. They just go in the trash can. Like, and you know how much energy like it takes to make a pound of chicken. Like thinking of fossil fuels and everything that's required to make a pound of chicken. Like that's so much natural resource waste that's happening every single day. And it's just more economical to throw it away because you have to go through. There's probably a bunch of paperwork and stuff that you'd have to do to like give that food somewhere else outside of the restaurant for free. Like, but like I would just like I would take the leftovers when I could. And I would just like I would take them to the local bar and I would just like trade them for a beer. I'd like do something with them and like it was just astonishing to me like how much food waste happens just in that one small restaurant. So Buffalo Wild Wings, quit wasting your food. Figure out something to do with it other than throw it away. But like and to their credit, they did like try their best to like get things accurate to where they weren't wasting food. But at the same time, there was always food that was thrown away. And so that was my biggest problem. It's just like but is that a worker? I don't know. But you're right. There's so much food waste, and like everywhere else has food waste too. Like that's why there's so many raccoons because they hang out in dumpsters and they just eat free food all day.
I like that you brought up the law part because it's crap that there's like a lot of laws where restaurants can't do that and they have to like send people away even though they don't want to.
Well, those laws aren't crap. Those laws are important because people back in the early 1900s and 1800s like they would or Great Depression, like they would eat something from a food vendor and then die because like they just got food poisoning or some sort of like nasty weird shit from somebody not cooking their meat all the way through or selling rotten meat to make a pretty penny real quick. Like, and if you just cook it well done, then nobody's gonna know. But if you cook rotten meat well done, you're still gonna get sick. Like, but no one can know that. You know what I mean? It's just like they had to put laws in place so that doesn't happen to people. There's a regulatory process for food so people don't get sick and die. Because that's a more expensive endeavor than just like wasting a little bit of food.
There could be a movement created to like have a stand though and have it regulated by the FDA. Have someone in the FDA just go around, pay them.
Yeah.
The food corporation. I mean, a few people maybe.
What do you mean, like? So
what's
the
that
idea
food that was left over that people hadn't even touched but was cooked, right?
Right.
Uncooked. They could still use it or give it out. If someone
Imagine
from
doing like
that regulates food,
service.
the person who regulated your restaurant would come by, and they would just check on it.
Yeah.
If they really wanted to help. It's just an idea. Though.
Well, and it's sort of the same idea.
But I see why the laws are important too. I didn't know that.
It's the same. So there's a when you cook food, there's a from the moment you cook. When the food's frozen, it has an expiration date. From the moment you cook that food, the expiration date changes because there's a period by which that food is edible and good for restaurant standards.
Okay.
And so, like, if you let the food go past that point, you can no longer create any sort of process for obtaining that food because it's now past its expiration date according to the regulation process. And so, like, that's what would make that job hard. But Vindicate does that same sort of thing where it takes food that is just the day past its sell-by date. Shout out to Vindicate Foods here in Colorado, Fort Collins, Colorado. But they've made deals with all these grocery stores to be like, hey, like, we can help feed more people, and you can still have your brand on the foods because, like, you'll get Kirkland, you'll get King Super, you'll get all these things on there. It can still help your brand, but you just give us and donate us the food that you're going to throw away. More people can come get that food, and, like, it's just, you're not wasting as much. It looks good on you, makes everybody feel better, and it's just like, that's a good way to go about it, but it's hard with fresh cooked food, and there's so much fresh cooked food that goes to waste constantly, and that just sucks because, like, it's an economical model, it's not an ecological model when it comes to the food industry because it's just been monopolized. So,
which is very unfortunate.
Yeah, but it's necessary for this many people. Like, you gotta have a very linear system to feed this many people, and, like, I don't support depopulation or any of those weird things that. Nobody should have to die for the sake of someone else if they don't have to. And it's like, I think we all deserve the right to live no matter who you are. But at the same time, like, it's just a simple ecological model. Like, we are built in this world and we depend on the resources of this world to create ourselves. Like, we have to consume energy to live, and you have a population scale. The more resources you have, the greater your population is going to get, because when shit's plentiful and we're comfortable, we like to fuck. It's just the way it is, and we'll make more. And so, like, this population grows, it gets up, but also as that population grows, it's an inverse correlation that those resources are going to go down because they're finite, and the things we have to consume are finite. And so I think as a human population, we're starting to know these sort of, like, red flags and warning signs that, like, our population is getting to a point where it's matching the resources, and, like, if we're not at a net zero, we're getting close to a net zero before we're in the negative. And when we get to the negative, trouble's going to start to happen, because that's what happens with every population where the resources are low. Supply and demand. If the supply is low, the demand's high. Shit's going to get more expensive. When shit gets more expensive, people work harder. When they work harder, they get stressed. When they get stressed, they get fearful of loss because they've made a very big investment into the work that they're doing. And when the work that you're doing is not paying off the way that you need it to pay for your necessities, you get afraid. And once you get afraid, you get angry. And you get angry at each other, you fight. When you fight, you kill each other. And once you start killing each other, that's going to lower the population. That's going to make the resources good again. But then we'll start killing each other, and nobody wants to be in war. Everybody wants peace because it's the best form of homeostasis that there is. Because when we're killing each other, it just changes who we are. And we don't want to get there. But eventually, it always has to get there. It always has to get to that point. But there's some people that have hope and that are smart enough in creating things that we don't have to get there. But I think, unless we can change our history, unless we can change our path, and that's a real pursuit of a lot of us. But nature will take its course if we let it. That's what I'm saying.
Preach it, brother. Hallelujah.
Amen, brother.
Brother.
Shit. Annalise, you sleeping? Yeah, she's out. She's just sleeping on Diesel.
She's sleeping on the dog.
Is he sleeping too?
Yeah.
Oh, God.
But that's real shit.
Preach.
The truth.
I just love the world, man.
Hashtag facts.
I love this life. I love the life that we get to live. And I think it's a very unique experience that we're in our bodies, in our perception, and the way that we get to see things. Like, I think in a way that is a form of freedom in the universe that I don't know what other life is like. Like, I don't know what it's like to look through the eyes of a crocodile. I don't know what it's like to look through the world through the eyes of an ant or any interdimensional being or anything like that. Like, I don't know what it looks like from another consciousness. But at the same time, I realize, like, I probably do. Because, I listen to a lot of Alan Watts because I love that guy. He just goes on these tangents. And one day he was talking about dreams. And he was like, dreams, like, what if you are God and you had this infinite expanse to just think about and create whatever world you could have. And at first you're going to start to create these lavish parties. You're going to have as much sex as you want. You're going to eat as much as you want. You're going to do all these things. You're going to blow through every sort of luxury of this existence that exists. But eventually you're going to get tired of it. And you're going to get bored. And you're going to realize, like, oh, there's this high can only be given for so long. And you're like, well, how can I do something else? You're like, oh, let's start just playing games with ourselves since we have all this power. Like, and eventually he got to the point of saying, like, what if we got so complex with how we were playing our game that we decided the game was we're going to fall asleep, we're going to be in a dream, but we're not going to know we're in a dream, and that the goal is to try to wake up, but you're not going to know any of this exists. You're just going to think that you're in this one place, and you have to get back all the way through the other layers to figure out that you're the creator of the game. And it's just like, that's intense. That's intense to think about.
Sounds like a movie.
It's a great model. Yeah,
I'd watch that movie. I'd watch that movie.
What movie is that?
Like if they just made a movie about that.
Made that movie. Oh yeah, I would watch it.
There probably is a movie that has that underlying premise.
Inception.
Nah.
Well, Inception's kind of like that. Inception kind of follows like it's a dream within a dream within a dream. It's like it's just diving into the deepest parts of the subconscious that you can.
And trying not to get yourself lost.
Right.
Ready Player One.
Ready Player One's
probably like one of the closer.
Well, I think that sort of concept that I kind of described, like it describes the hero's journey in a sense. It describes the, like when I was talking about the other day, like a seed growing into a tree. Like it all follows that process. It's just a creation of layers. But like if you think about the idea of like the creator of the universe, and then the creator is you just playing a game with yourself. Like instead of a seed growing into a tree, it's like a tree growing back into a seed. It's like understanding how you go backwards into what you are, and it's like it's a tricky game because life as we see it, we watch life go from little to big, when the expanse of the universe to understand like what you are in this conscious space, like it's being able to go back from big to little. But it's like that's why they say as above and so below, because either direction you look, it's all the same. So if you're watching life grow outward, by watching it grow outward, if you look at it the right way, you can understand how you grow inward. And it's like that process that you gotta learn. And you probably get that a lot, either if it's consciously or subconsciously, from just having 7 children in different growth stages and watching them do each of these processes. And you're like, you probably harbor a lot of wisdom that a lot of people just don't have just by watching children grow.
If you want to call it, I got a lot of patience.
That's wisdom in itself, bro.
I mean, and it's but it is true,
yeah.
and you know, to kind of feed off that is when you look at everything in life, everything has the same concept to it. Mm-hmm. Interesting that you would say a tree, because the tree is always associated with life and creation. Mm-hmm. And how ironic is it that our nerve endings look like roots running off?
Yeah.
Right. You know, like our lungs, like all of life has it like that.
Well, the tree having a base and a stem and this sort of complex leaf system, like it represents the brain stem and the human stem. Like if you look down below the ground at the soil macroscopically, you see all the mycelium. The mycelium connect the trees together, and the mycelium look like this network, and it resembles what they'd see as the internet, what the universe is, what our brain neurons look like. It's all sort of the same, and like we're just built from the same pattern by which that was built, because that in the evolutionary process came first.
We're just in a different dimension,
right?
We're in a different dimension of existence, is what I should say, because I think, because like you look at everything, it's right. Atoms, you know, you got your nucleus, you got your
nucleus, you got the Nicholas, you got the Ians.
You got the Nicholas, and you got the 2 cages on the outside. Cause shout out to Nicolas Cage, or fuck with that motherfucker, bro. You know, like
hell rod motherfucker.
You know, but like everything everything is structured the same. The universe, planets, solar system.
It
all has a similar. And
there's mathematics. It's that Fibonacci. It's that golden ratio. It's the
and
swirls.
And then the sad part is that our ancestors had a better understanding than we do now.
It's just because they were more connected. They were more connected than we were.
You know?
Yeah, they didn't wear shoes, man. When you don't wear shoes,
you're connected.
Because the Earth, if you look at the Earth on from an energy state, like the Earth is a battery. The Earth works the same as a battery, and like you're a terminal, it's a terminal, and it's just an opposite charge of you. And like there's a lot of opposite charges around you all the time. Like we exist, our physical reality is just a bunch of positive and negative charges interacting with one another. But when you have this giant sort of sphere that we're on, and you connect yourself directly to it through your nerve endings, you get a different sensation and you get a different feeling. Like creating rubber-soled shoes, rubber doesn't allow that connection to happen. Our ancestors didn't have that. So like when they're walking around, like they are just naturally more in tune with the things happening around them, because like they're sending electrical pulses to the same mycelium that's sending electrical pulses to the trees, and those to the other plants and the leaves and the ground and the bugs underneath you and the animals that are connected to the earth as well. Like if you're in it long enough and you don't wear shoes for long enough, like you will start to feel what the earth is feeling. And when you're in tune with how the earth is feeling, you're not going to mistreat it as easily because you realize you're mistreating an extension of yourself. But we've lost that. We lost that way of being. And yeah, it kind of sucks, but like and that's why people shit on hippies all the time, and they make fun of like hippy dippy people that have dreads and don't wear shoes and stuff, and it's just like, yeah, sometimes they do smell a little bad, and I wish that they could have a more creative form of hygiene. But I guess like I mean I can't say I smell the best all the time either, but it's just like I think everybody has I think people are just trying things out, like what does it feel like to not shower and have the natural bacteria sort of grow? Because I know people that if you don't take soapy showers and everything for a long enough time, like your bacteria will it will get strong enough to like not make you have a sense like a strong odor. Like you'll balance yourself out, because the odor is just from bacteria being able to thrive and flourish, and it's not necessarily bacteria that you want, and it's why it kind of smells. That's why your BO never really smells to you, but other people can smell it, because it's just like, oh, like that's a different bacteria, and it gives off this odor, because your body knows like I don't want that bacteria around me, so like you kind of ward off stinky people. But it's just like if you get the fuck over it, and like you can just talk to somebody that kind of smells different and know it's fine, you'll learn that like if somebody had their shoes off for 2 straight weeks and they were on the grass every day, it's just like they've probably gained a little bit that you can probably learn from them, for sure. I think everybody has something to teach you. You gotta be able to talk to people and listen. Fucking listen.
Oh, that's a good statement.
Speaking of which, I've been talking a lot. Say something.
Everybody has something to teach you.
Right.
We're too quick to judge people, like you were saying before, for changing too. They're like, oh, this person changed, and it's like, what did you expect? Yeah. They're growing. Like, they might not be growing in a positive aspect at that moment. They might be growing negatively, but they're going to take some lesson from that. Right. A lot of times we can give people advice. Most people, before they realize something big, were given that advice so many times, you know.
Mm-hmm. Everything is just a reflection of yourself. Everybody's a mirror. Everything that you see is either something that you want to see, or everything that you see and you resonate with is what you want to see and what you want to resonate with, and how you choose to see that reality. So at the end of the day, it's always just perception. You create the reality that you want to live in, and if you don't like your reality, then do something about it. Change your vibration however you want to go about it. Mm-hmm. But don't suffer in silence or anything like that.
No, because that just turns to weakness.
Yeah, exactly.
I forgot who said it, and somebody can quote it, but he said, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. Mm-hmm. And you've probably heard that saying before. It's just like it's a good point. It's because if you look at a situation from your perspective and from someone else's perspective, you can likely have similarities, but there's also going to be differences based on where your perception is rooted in. And that's why I think, going back to sort of like the entire kind of universal thing that we're in, like they talk about the multiverse and like how our universe is like infinitely large, but what is beyond that? If it's infinite, like there's probably just infinite other universes, and it just goes on forever. And if maybe that's true, or maybe we're the only one. Who knows? But it's hard to think that there's just a finite number of universes and it cuts off. You know what I mean? Like it's you have to either see it as a standalone thing or an infinite expanse. But the multiverse and like having this multiple universe, like I don't think it's that complicated. I think the multiverse is just from me to you. It's literally my perspective from your perspective. Like in my way, I am my own universe because I exist within myself and nobody else can exist within me fully at one given time. Like you have to exist within yourself too, which guarantees me that I'll always be existing within me. Because like, it's just hard to think about. It's not hard to think about. It's hard to wrap your head around. But like, kind of once you see it for what it is, you realize it's just like, oh, like if you look at other people and you're like, this person is another universe, and it's just like, I'm interested in hearing what the perspective of this universe is. And like, if you start to dive into that conversation, you realize like, okay, there's too much chaos in this shit that you know, I'm not really interested in knowing everything right now about what's going on in the universe because it would just be way too much for me. Like, that really helps you set boundaries with people because you're just like, hey man, I hear what you have to say and I respect that, but I have some other universes I'm trying to figure out and learn about, and I'm trying to still learn the universe of myself. And so it's just like, and I only got a set amount of time in this sort of existence, so like, I'm gonna need some space to do my thing. And if you explain it like that to somebody, they're either going to be very confused and be like, all right, man, you're crazy. I'm getting the fuck out of here. And then you're like, yeah. But other than that, they'll be like, you know what? That's a cool way to look at it. And that's fine. And who knows? By you being that way, and it's the complete opposite direction. Like, you can, if you see somebody else's universe that you love, like, you can just merge your universes together. Fucking awesome. Like, be around each other all the time. Let those things collide. Right. It's like, yeah, join your clan, bro. But it's just like the people that you don't. It's just, you can, the impact of your universe meeting their universe, you can leave a lasting impact on theirs, and it's likely that you will every time that you meet somebody. So like, how do you want to define your existence, and how do you want to be in your existence so that if your universe collides with another universe, what ripple do you want to send through that? And if you're a person of positivity, like, you do your best to go and like, I'm going to choose kindness, I'm going to try to choose love the best that I can. And it's like, if you can do everything in love, like, even if you're going to war and you have to kill people, like, the Bhagavad Gita is a great book to teach you that, like, you can do things with great love, even if it requires a great amount of sacrifice and a great amount of uncomfortability, and even to an extent a great amount of violence. Like, you can do it for love, but you have to really know within yourself what that means to you. Yeah. Drawing lines, man. It's all just drawing lines. No boundaries gives you bad situations. Well, it doesn't even give you bad situations, and more so for me at least. when you don't set boundaries and structure, which goes back to discipline. When you don't set certain boundaries and structure, you are just at the will of the environment around you. You're at will of the universe. That's what babies are like. Babies, like newborn babies, don't have any boundaries. They're completely vulnerable to the universe around them, and it's as they grow and learn, they start to create little boundaries for themselves, and sometimes boundaries get pushed away, sometimes boundaries get knocked down, sometimes boundaries get changed. But there's a point in our childhood where we start to create boundaries, and we start, because like in the first boundary that we create is when we first look in the mirror as a little kid and realize like, oh, I'm my own sort of thing. Like, the rest of this world isn't me. Like, I'm me and I'm in this thing. Like, and I forgot what age they reach. It's like, I don't know, 2, 3, something like that, where they're looking in the mirror and they're like touching themselves. They're like, holy fuck, I'm here. And they start to create those boundaries. Which is like, yeah, if you don't have any boundaries as an adult, you're basically just gonna be a yes man. You know, you're just gonna be going to everything, doing everything, and like, it's one thing to be a yes man and have boundaries and be like, I'm just being a yes man because I like going to do a bunch of shit and I like when people invite me to things, and like, that's one of my favorite things to do. But it's also when you're a yes man or a yes woman, whatever, but you feel this sort of angst and stress by saying yes, like, that's when it becomes a lack of boundaries. It's like forced obligation. Right. When it no longer becomes an obligation, it's not a stress. Your own happiness for the happiness of other people. Right. Well, and it's real troubling too, because sometimes you can create boundaries around being a people pleaser, and like, you just find this sort of like, you're like, oh, this is just who I am. Like, I just please people, and like,
I don't like that though. Because
it's not good.
It's not being nice. It's like it's an insecurity, and it can stem from many things. But it's like I just want to please everyone. But it's like when someone actually pleases you and it's genuine, which like usually like people really pleasing you, it kind of takes time to form. It can happen instantly, but like forming that bond takes a while. It's actually really cool, and like it's real. Cause like if you're just a yes man, you're not friends with anyone. You're a freaking, you're like that person that it's like I'll just take advantage of him. He's retarded.
But you can be a yes man.
It happens though. That's the truth.
Yeah, they'll say that.
And like it'll happen to you with like a woman if you're a yes man too. It relates.
Yeah. It comes down to your own self-security. If you're insecure with yourself and you're only saying yes to appease everybody else, and you're not really doing it for any personal gain or some knowledgeable experience. You know, if you're secure enough to be like, yeah, you know, I could comfortably do that, and I'd be glad to go participate in your party or whatever, you know. Hey, boo, you put the boo in bukkake, you know, like some weird shit, whatever. I don't know, some fucking weird shit, you know, like, I mean, you can use it if you're secure enough with yourself, with your decisions. I mean, you can always, anything's possible. You could still be yes man, but still have those boundaries where you're like, hey, listen, I'd love to say yes, but like you said, that's just one thing that goes against what I believe in, man. And you know, it comes down to respect for the people and their boundaries as well, because you start breaking your own boundaries when you start invading and impeding on somebody else's as well. So it's like what you were saying, the reciprocation of whatever you're putting out. So.
Yeah, and thinking about what both of you were saying, like that sense of security ties back to how you define your own freedom. And if you are a people pleaser, your security is going to be in the degree by which people are pleased by your actions. And if you live in a world like that, you're going to come across points to where, and most people, when you're trying to please them, have the sense of like sympathy or kindness enough to like at least reciprocate a thank you and I appreciate it. But if you create your need for validation on the pleasing of other people, eventually you're going to do something in your best interest that doesn't please somebody and might do the complete opposite, but like piss them off. And then it's going to be a real hit to your ego and your sense of security, because you're like, I was doing something to please somebody because that's what I do, and they weren't pleased with me. What's wrong with me? And then you're going to turn it in on yourself, and then it becomes very distressful. And then it's a slow sort of disintegration of the self from there, because then you start to get insecure and like, okay, like I can't please everybody, but all I know how to do is please people, so I'm going to keep pleasing people. And then but now you're not pleasing people for the sake of pleasing, you're pleasing people to prove your worth. And when it's a self-defeating cycle. So eventually, like, you have to learn that it's okay to be a little selfish. It's okay to say no. It's okay to act in your own best interest sometimes. Yeah.
And it's not
you
like
can still be a yes man and
but say yes
doing
because,
but doing it for your own interest.
Say yes because you want to.
Of course, it's not like oh, I'm not gonna help anybody ever. That's also fucked up. But it's like,
I'm not saying yes for you to be happy. I'm saying yes because I'm interested in what's about to happen.
Yeah, it's not because I feel obligated.
Right.
You're never obligated. Like, don't ever. That's the other thing. It's like a lot of people feel like they're entitled or they're obligated. Like, people need to realize when you give time and you dedicate yourself. It's not that you're obligated.
Right.
To do it. You didn't have to do it. You chose to.
And I think true obligations are the ones you give yourself.
Comes to that self-discipline.
Right.
And the freedoms that you want to pursue in life.
Right.
Boom. Wow.
Nailed it. Exquisito. Huh. How long have we been going, man?
445 days.
I think like an hour 45.
Hour 45? Dope.
I can't actually tell. I started the timer late.
Oh, okay. But,
I've been awake for over 24 hours.
Been away? Yeah, dude, we just, like having these conversations.
Yeah.
But, alright, do we just wanna, like, call this podcast for now?
Yeah.
I think we really touched on everything that we could for discipline and freedom. I think we circled back pretty well. I think before we dive into more deep tangents and possibly not circle back, like, I think that'd be a good one to end on for discipline and freedom. So thanks to everybody that's been listening. Much love. Thank you for coming and listening to us. Thank you for coming in and chatting. Mataio. I'm sorry. I'm trying to figure it out. I keep forgetting. See, with an O at the end. Look, I can see why your mom gets confused sometimes because it just rolls up.
Okay, but the one who brought me into this
Mataio. Just like it's the American language that rolls off Mataio.
If it's easier, we could just use my last name. It's my I. Like, oh my. If that's easy.
Mataio.
Yeah, Mataio. Wow.
I'll just say it about 20 times when we're done here, and then I'll remember and I won't fuck it up again.
Yo, catch me on OnlyFans. Shout out to my dogs in the joint.
Yeah, y'all. Alright, y'all. So, as y'all know, I'm bad with names, apparently. So, we'll keep working on that as we have more guests in the future. Thanks again for coming to Finding Home. I hope you guys have a beautiful week. Hope you enjoy everything that your life is. And I hope you take the time to think about your own freedom and discipline and what it means to you. And, like, comment, subscribe, tell us some stuff. You can send us an email at findinghomepod@gmail.com, and we'll answer your questions there and we'll talk about you. All right, I'll stop talking now.